The year is 2025, a year that many hoped would bring stability and growth. The world watches with bated breath, eyes glued to their screens, hearts pounding with uncertainty. The familiar clang of trade war drums echoes once more between the United States and the European Union, a rivalry that seems never-ending. President Trump, never one to shy away from a trade tussle, has threatened a hefty 25% tariff on European cars and other goods. His bold stance is making headlines worldwide. His reasoning, the EU, he claims, is taking America for a ride, racking up a trade deficit that would make your average accountant weep. The numbers, he argues, don't lie. This isn't the first time these two economic titans have locked horns. Their history is filled with clashes and negotiations. Remember the steel and aluminum tariffs of 2018? Those were just the beginning of a long and tumultuous journey. Yet those are back on the table too, set to rear their ugly heads on March 12th. The date is circled in red on many calendars, and if that wasn't enough to make you spill your coffee, Trump's hinted at even broader tariffs kicking in by April. The stakes are higher than ever. Buckle up, folks. Things are about to get bumpy. The economic roller coaster is just beginning its wild ride. The world is holding its breath, waiting for the next move in this high-stakes game. Will this escalate into a full-blown trade war? The tension is palpable, and the consequences could be dire. The potential consequences are huge. Businesses are nervous, governments are scrambling to find solutions and mitigate risks, and everyone's wondering, is this really happening again? The déjà vu is unsettling, and the world can only watch and wait. The European Union, a collection of nations known for their diplomacy and love of a good croissant, aren't about to back down without a fight. They've made it clear bullying tactics won't fly. The EU is prepared to hit back, and they've got a powerful weapon in their arsenal, the Anti-Coercion Instrument, or ACI. Think of the ACI as the EU's economic equalizer. It allows them to retaliate against any country trying to gain an unfair trade advantage. And we're not just talking about slapping tariffs on American cars. Oh no, this thing's got range. We could see quotas on US goods, restrictions on investments, the whole shebang. Some say the EU is just bluffing, trying to scare Trump into backing down. Others say they're dead serious and ready to rumble. One thing's for sure, if this goes nuclear, nobody's coming out unscathed. From the halls of Brussels to the streets of Paris, the message from Europe is clear. We will not be bullied. European leaders have been lining up to condemn Trump's tariff threats. Their words a mix of disappointment and steely resolve. Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk, a man who knows a thing or two about standing up to a bully, reminded the world that the EU stands for peace, respect and free trade. Roberta Metsola, President of the European Parliament, echoed those sentiments, emphasizing the EU's commitment to transatlantic ties and a mutually beneficial trade relationship. But she also made it clear the EU will not hesitate to defend its interests if pushed too far. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez didn't mince words, declaring that the EU would defend its economic interests against unjustified tariffs and threats to its sovereignty. The message is clear. The EU is united, it is strong, and it will not be cowed. The financial world, a place where even a whisper can trigger an earthquake, reacted to Trump's tariff threats with predictable panic. European shares tumbled like a Jenga tower after one too many blocks have been pulled. The Stoxx 600, a broad index of European companies, took a 1.5% nosedive. Germany's DAX and France's CAC 40 followed suit, each plummeting by nearly 2%. But the real casualties were in the automotive and technology sectors. Car makers like Volkswagen, BMW and Daimler saw their stock prices crater as investors feared the worst. The tech sector, already grappling with a global chip shortage and geopolitical uncertainty, wasn't spared either, with the sector index dropping by a gut-wrenching 2.2%. The message from the markets is clear. Trade wars are bad for business. Uncertainty breeds volatility, and volatility is the sworn enemy of investors everywhere. Section 5, a Titanic trade relationship in the balance. The United States and the European Union, two economic behemoths, their economies intertwined like a plate of spaghetti and meatballs. Their relationship is not just about numbers, it's about the very fabric of global commerce. In 2023 alone, these two traded a staggering $1.5 trillion worth of goods and services. This colossal figure underscores the sheer scale and importance of their economic partnership. That's roughly 30% of all global trade. Imagine the impact on the global economy if this relationship were to falter. We're talking about a relationship built on cars, planes, wine, cheese, and enough iPhones to make your head spin. These are not just products, they are symbols of cultural exchange and mutual reliance. But here's the kicker. The EU actually has a trade surplus with the US. This means they export more to the US than they import. That's right, they sell more to America than they buy. This trade surplus is a significant aspect of their economic relationship. In 2023, that surplus was a cool $161 billion in goods alone. This figure highlights the competitive edge the EU holds in this trade dynamic. So, when Trump starts shouting about trade deficits, it's worth remembering who's actually coming out on top in this transatlantic tango. The narrative is more complex than it appears. The point is, a trade war between these two would be like a heavyweight boxing match where both fighters end up in the hospital. The consequences would be dire for both sides. It's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved. The ripple effects would be felt across the globe, affecting industries, jobs, and economies far beyond their borders. Section 6, can cooler heads prevail? Amidst the saber-rattling and market turmoil, there are glimmers of hope. Some EU leaders are urging a more diplomatic approach, hoping to defuse the situation before it escalates into a full-blown trade war. French President Emmanuel Macron, never one to miss an opportunity for a little international diplomacy, has been working the phones, urging Trump to focus his attention on China instead of Europe. Meanwhile, Italian Industry Minister Adolfo Urso has floated the idea of making some concessions to appease Trump. Increased European defense spending, perhaps? A few tweaks to trade agreements? It's all on the table, apparently. The question is, will these diplomatic overtures be enough to avert disaster? Or are we hurtling towards an economic abyss? Only time will tell. Section 7, BMW Stuck in the Crossfire. In the world of global trade, it's not just countries that get caught in the crossfire. The intricate web of international commerce means that businesses, especially those with a global footprint, are often the ones feeling the immediate impact. Businesses, particularly those with operations spanning multiple continents, often find themselves on the front lines of trade wars. These companies must navigate complex geopolitical landscapes while trying to maintain profitability and market share. And in this particular showdown, few companies are feeling the heat quite like BMW. The iconic German automaker is renowned for its luxury vehicles and cutting-edge technology, but it now faces unprecedented challenges. The German automaker, known for its luxury cars and high-performance engines, has a significant manufacturing presence in the United States. This presence is not just a strategic move, but a necessity to cater to the vast American market. Its plant in Spartanburg, South Carolina, is a major exporter of BMW vehicles, sending thousands of SUVs and sedans across the Atlantic each year. This facility is a cornerstone of BMW's global supply chain and a critical hub for its operations. But if Trump's tariffs come into effect, those exports could be hit with a hefty surcharge, making them less competitive in the US market. The potential tariffs could disrupt BMW's finely tuned logistics and pricing strategies. For BMW, the situation is a delicate balancing act. They must weigh the costs and benefits of their international operations while trying to mitigate the risks posed by fluctuating trade policies. They need to keep both the US and the EU happy, while also navigating the choppy waters of global trade. This requires diplomatic finesse and strategic planning to avoid potential pitfalls. It's a high-stakes game, and the stakes just got a whole lot higher. The outcome of these trade negotiations could have lasting impacts on BMW's global operations and its position in the market. Section 8, a looming shadow over the global economy. The trade spat between the US and the EU is more than just a bilateral squabble. It's a symptom of a larger trend, the rise of protectionism and the erosion of the rules-based trading system that has underpinned global prosperity for decades. Analysts warn that if this trend continues, it could have dire consequences for the global economy. Supply chains, already strained by the pandemic and geopolitical tensions, could be thrown into chaos. Prices for consumers could rise as tariffs and other trade barriers drive up costs. And global growth, already sluggish, could grind to a halt. The message is clear: the world needs more trade, not less. Cooperation, not conflict, is the only way to ensure continued economic growth and prosperity for all. Section 9. The future of transatlantic trade hangs in the balance. As the trade war drums continue to beat, the future of transatlantic trade hangs precariously in the balance. Will cooler heads prevail, leading to a negotiated settlement and a return to normalcy? Or are we on the brink of a trade war that could have devastating consequences for both sides of the Atlantic and the global economy as a whole? The answers to these questions remain elusive. The situation is fluid, with each passing day bringing new developments and pronouncements from world leaders. One thing is certain: the stakes are high and the world is watching. The coming weeks and months will be critical in determining the course of this trade dispute. Let's hope that wisdom and diplomacy will ultimately prevail, allowing these two economic giants to find common ground and continue their long and fruitful partnership. The alternative is too dire to contemplate.